Let's talk about Prop 50 in California. Now, there's a lot of talk that this is being done because of what's happening in Texas.
Well, that's because it's being done because of what's happening in Texas.
So let's set the record straight. Texas's constitution allows it to draw new maps in the middle of a decade. Let's take that off the table. California's constitution does not, which is why Prop 50 came into play. It's a constitutional amendment. They are trying to put this into law and to remove the power of the Independent Districting Commission that was put together by the people for the people so we can be able to decide the districting maps for our state.
There is no we getting to decide. We don't get to decide how the lines are drawn. We don't even get to decide who is doing the drawing of the lines. We don't get to vote on who sits on the Independent Commission. It's chosen randomly, more or less. There are 8 names selected randomly after a process before that, obviously. And then those 8 members of the newly selected commission appoint the remaining 6 to complete the 14-member. We don't have a say, so go on.
Okay, they say it's temporary to 2030, but we know that that's not true.
How do you know that's not true? You just said that they're trying to make this a constitutional amendment to enshrine it into law. It says in the language of the proposition that it's temporary, only through the year 2030. That's when the Independent Commission will take over redrawing the maps after the 2030 census. How do you know it's not temporary?
2 weeks to slow the spread is what they told us about the vid. And that didn't happen, right? Right.
Ma'am, that was a slogan, not an amendment to the California Constitution enshrined into law. That was a slogan. Next.
And if you don't know what gerrymandering is, it's the manipulation of electoral boundaries to favor one party, one group, or one demographic to have an unfair advantage over the others.
Yeah, kind of like what they're doing in Texas. In fact, with these newly drawn district lines, the black and brown vote have been significantly diluted in Texas. So that's why we don't like what they did in Texas.
It distorts representation. So you have more seats without all of the votes.
Kind of like what they're doing in Texas.
It weakens accountability. So the lawmakers feel safe in the districts where they have their voters, and that also makes them available to not be as responsive to you as well as a constituent.
Kind of like all the Republican lawmakers who are refusing to hold town halls because their constituents are pissed, and they're asking them difficult questions like, why are you aiding and abetting an authoritarian takeover of our government and country? Kind of like that.
And it polarizes politics.
So does the President of the United States, but go ahead.
So with gerrymandering and polarizing the politics, the districts that are drawn to favor extremes, they discourage moderation and compromise, which is just having these conversations and talking. It makes these extremes so big and it pits us against each other. What they do sometimes is they concentrate the opposing party's voters into a couple of districts so they look like they have the majority. They're overwhelmingly winning in these districts, but they have little influence elsewhere.
Kind of like what they're doing in Texas.
Another tactic is they crack the voters apart. So the voters are a minority in many districts and they win nowhere.
Kind of like what they're doing in Texas.
And the last part that gerrymandering does is it hijacks. So they redraw the lines to pit incumbents from the same party against each other to dismantle a particular representative's base.
Ma'am, have you ever heard the phrase, you can run right into the point and still miss it? That's not you. You are making the point. Beautifully, I might add. It's like you're painting a picture of the point. A big, big, beautiful mural back here, like floor-to-ceiling mural, using beautiful colors and perspective and shading. You're making a wonderful picture of the point. You're making the point. What you're doing is making the point, putting your paintbrush down, turning to me and say, look, I baked a lasagna. That's you. You're making the point. Beautifully, I might add, and you still don't get it. Well, for the rest of us watching, join me in voting yes on Prop 50, would you?